Hey, how's it going, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today I showed you the step-by-step on how you can change the oil and the oil filter of your CRF300L. Let's get started. A few important tips before you decide to do this job at home. It is very simple, but you just need to know a couple of things. Now, you should have some crush washers. So these are made of soft metal. Usually it is going to be aluminum or copper, but you need to have this, and stick around through the video because I'm going to tell you the dimensions so you can buy beforehand. You also should have oil filter gasket. So that's the item that you should have. Now, you don't need to change it every time. Now, of course, if you ask your mechanic or your dealer, they're going to tell you that, yes, you should change it. In reality, you don't have to change it every time, but you should have it in hands, because if there is a leakage, then you have the gasket ready to go and you don't have to interrupt the service. I'm using an aftermarket oil filter. I'm going to share the code here with you as well. It is compatible with the CRF300L. This is a 2023 European model. And the engine oil that I'm using is the Motul fully synthetic, so that is the 7100, and that's the viscosity specified by Honda. That is the 10W30. It needs to be an engine oil specific for motorcycles, so don't use a car engine oil. To make sure that we get most out of the old oil from inside the engine, it is always a good idea to just let the motorcycle run. Now, there will be a few theories in here. You have some guys that are really going to rev it all the way and go for a spin with the motorcycle and have it really boiling hot. That's not what I'm going to do here. I will just let the motorcycle run for about 5 minutes so the oil thins out, and then I make sure to drain as much as possible. Now, if you want to go for a spin and have the oil really at 100 degrees Celsius, you go ahead and do it. Just make sure that you pay attention not to burn yourself. The way I like to do it, 5 minutes is enough. So as you've seen in there, once I get the engine to its normal operating temperature, I like to just rock the motorcycle sideways, just in case there is any oil accumulated on the top part of the engine. It just helps to bring it down to the oil sump so I can drain as much as possible. Just be careful from now on, because the engine is hot and also the engine oil is going to be hot. So careful with your hands, don't need to stress about it, just pay attention. Right, so now you are taking a look at the bottom of the engine, so that is the oil sump. Here on my side, where I am, you can see the chain is on this side, and you're looking from the front towards the back. You just have to pay attention about one thing, and I've seen this already on some CRF300L groups. You do not remove this screw, do not do that. So the screw for draining, it is on this side, and you need a 12mm socket. No reason to rush now, just go take a beer, relax, and let it drain and keep for 5 to 10 minutes. I really don't stress about it. And another tip I give to you, you see, all of the oil has to be drained by this position on the oil sump. So if you want to really make sure that you get most of the old oil out, you can also, once again, just rock the motorcycle sideways to help all of the oil come out. You'll never get 100% of the oil, but you want to get as most as possible out of the engine, so you have mostly fresh oil when you put it back up. As the engine oil is draining, that's a good moment to talk about the parts that you should have before starting with the service. So first of all, you should have a crush washer. I'm going to leave the dimensions of this crush washer here on the screen. You don't need to buy original. In fact, I just buy a bag with about 50 of these. This costed me, I think, €5 or about $5, and that goes between the screw that we have removed and the oil sump, like this. The other part that I recommend you having, it is this gasket. And I'm going to leave the original part number here on the screen and also the description. This gasket, I recommend you to buy original. It is not really that expensive. And finally, you're going to need an oil filter that is high flow filtro or HIFLO filtro, depends on how you pronounce. The code for it is HF103. And as I said at the beginning, you also need, of course, the engine oil. In this case, here is the 10W30 specific for motorcycle. I like to use fully synthetic. Now, here on the right side of the motorcycle, this is the oil filter cover. You need an 8mm socket. Take note that you're going to have a spring, so just don't misplace the spring. So now I can just clean the oil. Now right here against the engine is where you have the gasket. So if you take a look, you can remove this gasket. Now let's reinstall the oil filter. So you're going to need a gasket. I'm just dabbing some oil. Now here inside I have my oil filter. I like to have it full of oil before I install it. I know some people don't do it, but that's how I recommend to do it. So here it is, the oil filter. Now here I put the spring. You make a crisscross pattern when tightening these screws. The torque for these screws is 9 Nm. Now tighten the engine oil drain bolt, and you should tighten it to 24 Nm. Remove the engine oil cap. It does help to have some kind of funnel, and after changing the oil filter, you will need about 1.5 liters of engine oil. So here's the oil level inspection glass, and if I just put the motorcycle upright, then you can see the oil level in there, and it should be right in the middle. Turn the motorcycle back on and just let it run for 30 seconds. Usually after the first time you run the motorcycle, the oil level will go down a little bit, so just top it off as needed. And make sure that when you're checking, the motorcycle has to be upright. And that is a step-by-step on how to change the engine oil and oil filter of your CRF300L. Now, if you learned something with this video, if it was useful to you, really help me out if you can leave it a like. And if you enjoy this type of content, maybe you consider subscribing. That's it, guys. I see you on the next video. Bye-bye.